All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating dynamic from an ancient text that honestly feels incredibly modern. It's deeply psychological. We're looking at what I like to call the paradox of paradise. Seriously, what actually happens when a legendary hero attains the ultimate goal? I mean, literal heaven, endless luxury, unimaginable power. But internally, they're experiencing absolute turmoil. We're going to explore a story that brilliantly captures this crazy tension between outer perfection and inner unrest.
Think about it for a second. Have you ever achieved a massive goal, something you've worked incredibly hard for, but the very moment you get there, you find your mind just drifting right back to unresolved past traumas or heavy duties? You know the feeling, right? It's a completely universal human experience. And what's so brilliant about the source material we're examining today is that it shows us this isn't a new phenomenon at all, not even close. We're looking at a 2,000-year-old account of the great warrior Arjuna. This gives us the ultimate, timeless case study in what it truly means to experience success without peace. So let's start with Section 1, Welcome to Indra's Palace and his arrival in the celestial realm.
The really crucial point to understand right at the start here is the extreme level of reverence Arjuna receives. He doesn't just quietly slip through the pearly gates unnoticed. No way. The gods and the Gandharvas go totally out of their way to honor him. First up, they procure an excellent arghya for him, which is this highly respectful traditional ceremonial offering. Then, they wash both his feet and his face. Now, in this ancient context, that is the ultimate sign of hospitality and deep respect. And finally, they usher him into the magnificent palace to live directly with his father, the king of the gods, Indra. He's essentially being handed the VIP key to the cosmos.
And you have to realize this wasn't just some brief weekend getaway to recharge. Day one was that grand welcome ceremony we just talked about. But then he moves into this massive block of time, roughly the first 2 years, or 24 months, dedicated entirely to acquiring celestial weapons. Then the back half of his stay, stretching from year 3 all the way to year 5, takes a very surprising turn. He shifts entirely to mastering music and dance. And finally, right at the end of year 5, we hit the overarching theme of our explainer, the stark realization of his inner turmoil. Keep in mind, throughout all of this, he is spending half a decade at Indra's direct command, totally surrounded by absolute, unfathomable celestial luxury.
Which brings us to Section 2, the ultimate celestial arsenal. We're talking weapons of mass destruction here.
So Arjuna is basically handed the absolute peak of military technology for his universe. And the source text gives us incredibly vivid sensory details here. First, he gets Indra's personal favorite weapon, the thunderbolt. It's described as possessing an irresistible force. I mean, you can't fight it, you definitely can't block it. Then he receives the lightnings of heaven, and this one comes with a tremendous roar. Its flashes are so intense that they're inferable just from the appearance of clouds and, amazingly, the reactions of dancing peacocks. Just imagine the sheer atmospheric energy of wielding something like that. And he didn't just hold these weapons. He spent years mastering the highly advanced means of withdrawing them, gaining disciplined control over immense destruction.
But here is where we start to see the very first, very telling crack in his perfect heavenly experience. The text states something so simple but powerful. After he had obtained those weapons, he recollected his brothers. I want you to really think about that for a second. He has just been handed irresistible force. He's at the absolute pinnacle of individual power. And what is his immediate gut reaction? His mind pulls right back to his family on Earth. He doesn't sit around reveling in the power for his own ego. Instead, obtaining the ultimate power immediately reminds him of the earthly conflict and the loved ones down there who actually need that power. And that perfectly sets up Section 3, Mastering Music and Dance, or, as I like to think of it, the warrior's unexpected training.
So get this. The ultimate warrior has just mastered wielding roaring thunderbolts, right? And then he gets his next curriculum assignment. Indra addresses him directly, saying, "O son of Kunti, learn thou music and dancing from Chitrasena. Learn the instrumental music that is current among the celestials and which existeth not in the world of men." Indra makes it explicitly clear that this is going to be to Arjuna's benefit. This isn't some sort of demotion or a weird distraction. He is being granted elite access to exclusive, otherworldly arts, cultural expressions that literally do not exist anywhere in the human realm. This part of the text brilliantly illustrates a deeply holistic approach to his development. Indra doesn't just hire a strict, boring tutor for him, he provides Chitrasena to be a genuine companion and friend. In fact, the text explicitly states they lived happily in peace together. And through this deep bond, his artistic training fully ripens over the years. He's instructed in celestial vocal music, otherworldly instrumental music, and eventually, the unrivaled, complex dance practiced among the Gandharvas. So for a really significant stretch of time, on the surface at least, he's living a deeply peaceful, culturally enriched life with a great friend in paradise.
But of course, that brings us to Section 4, the unquiet mind and the heavy weight of the past. This creates such a profound psychological contrast. Look at his heavenly environment. Arjuna is surrounded by every possible comfort and luxury. He is armed with literal lightning, he's formed deep friendships, and he's mastering unrivaled cosmic music. By all definitions, it is absolutely perfect. But his psychological reality, it's entirely different. The source text specifically refers to him as the active Arjuna. Because he's a man of action with an unresolved duty, he obtains absolutely no peace of mind. He is physically sitting in heaven, but mentally, he is totally trapped back on earth. He's remembering the unfair dice play of Sakuni that ruined his family. He is brooding, thinking with absolute rage about the betrayer Dussasana. And beneath all that fiery anger, he is profoundly missing his brothers and his mother Kunti. The incredible luxury of heaven simply cannot penetrate the trauma and the heavy sense of duty anchoring him to earth.
So if there is one crucial point to take away from this entire explainer, it's this. A mind anchored in duty and past betrayal cannot rest, even in paradise. External success, even the highest possible celestial success you can imagine, ultimately means very little if your internal battles remain unresolved. Arjuna's 5 years in heaven were physically luxurious and highly productive, sure, but psychologically? Psychologically, he was still fighting a bitter, bitter war.
This brilliantly illustrates a dilemma that honestly echoes right down into our own lives today. So I want to leave you with this final provocative question to chew on. How do you reconcile achieving your highest ambitions while still carrying the heavy burdens of your past and your ongoing responsibilities? Can true success even exist without internal peace? Let that thought sit with you for a while. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it sparks some curiosity, and as always, keep learning.